My name is Anka Corbin. I'm the founder and CEO of Globig, a global expansion accelerator and growth agency that helps companies enter and scale new markets with less risk and more confidence. Over the past few decades, I've worked in executive roles across sales, marketing, product, customer success, and global business development in the US, Europe, and Japan, both at startups and large enterprise companies. I'm also an investor and a startup mentor with Techstars and the Founder Institute. The framework I'll be sharing today, Globig's Targeted International Expansion Framework, or TIEF as we call it, has been presented at a number of global conferences and workshops. It's been worked on and it's been incredibly well received. It was built from real-world expansion work and refined with companies that needed a practical, structured way to plan international growth. What we've seen again and again is that when teams use the framework, they make better decisions early on, they reduce costly mistakes, and they build a much clearer path into the new markets. So let's dive into TIEF. Today, we're going to talk about how companies actually succeed when expanding internationally, and just as importantly, why so many don't. The framework I want to introduce you to is, as I'd mentioned, called the Targeted International Expansion Framework. It's designed to help you go global faster, more affordably, and more effectively without burning cash, trust, or teams. So TIEF is not about expanding everywhere, right at the same time. It's about expanding intentionally, reducing risk early, building trust methodically, and creating momentum that compounds over time. So how and why do companies go global? Most companies expand internationally in one of two ways. The first is opportunistic. This usually looks like a potential deal showing up unexpectedly, a customer inquiry, an inbound lead, maybe a partner introduction, and many expansions start this way. The second path is strategically targeted. So this is when a company expands because they already have customers or champions in the market. There's a large identifiable prospect base. They have network or partner support, there's a clear competitive advantage, or they know the market is strong for hiring talent. TIEF is primarily built for the second path, but it does help with opportunistic growth as well. Opportunistic expansion, it can work, but it's a little more fragile. Strategic expansion creates repeatability, confidence, and long-term growth. All right, so you're in a new market. It's a new reality. When you enter a new market, you're not starting at zero. You're actually starting at negative trust. So there is no built-in trust. And as we can tell geopolitically, trust is a really big deal, and we're struggling with that globally right now. There's no guarantee your product fits real needs, no proven product market fit, no repeatable or scalable business model, and you're working from assumptions with pretty limited data. So this is reality, even for very successful companies. Frankly, many really successful companies often have a really hard time initially getting the traction that they want because they didn't do the work that we're going to be looking at right now. Most failures in global expansion don't come from bad intentions. They just come from underestimating how different a new market really is. All right, so the first goal is really to reduce uncertainty as fast as you can. Your first goal isn't to scale, it's reducing uncertainty. So that means doing research, listening deeply, testing small ideas, learning from real customers, applying what you learn, and then testing again. And it's starting early. So we had talked about trust building a little bit ago, but how early can you do that? Probably you could do that years ahead of when you're ready to go, or definitely at least a year ahead. The companies that win globally aren't necessarily the ones with the best assumptions. They're the ones who replace assumptions with evidence faster than everyone else. So think about how we can do that. The second goal is to develop trust. I write a lot about trust as being a more important currency, frankly, than even revenue and traditional currency. Trust always comes before scale, for sure, but it even comes before success of any sort. Trust is built when you solve a real, painful problem, You deliver consistently, maybe not perfectly, but consistently. You partner with organizations people already trust. You show credible credentials, and you demonstrate respect for the local culture, the people, and the context that you're in. Just doesn't come from saying we're global. It comes from acting like you belong. All right, I want to introduce you to TIEF. So this is our Targeted International Expansion Framework. And we want you to think about going deep before you go wide. So TIEF comes from the German word tief, meaning deep, not superficial, not scattered, deep, focused, and intentional. The framework is built on a simple idea. If you truly go deep in one place, one industry, one mission-critical customer first, success becomes far more likely. That means pick a strategic location and then expand. Select a strategic industry, then add others. Focus deeply on one mission-critical prospect. Clarify the problem you solve for them. Make sure they really get that you solve this and that they truly understand what you're doing. And then you grow outward from there. Depth creates leverage, and focus creates clarity. All right, let's talk about the TIEF framework overview. TIEF has 4 interconnected segments. Segment 1 is your stage of expansion. When you think about it, you're going to select one, and it's going to apply all the way through all of the other segments. So where are you right now? Are you just discovering a market? Are you just trying to figure this out? Things, business setup. Are you at the launch stage, or are you at the growth and scaling stage? Make sure you identify, because there's completely different things you do in each one of these segments based on the stage of your expansion. You'll probably be familiar with the 5P assessment if you've done any sort of international homework. And this is, where are you going? What's important about that place? What is relevant? What's the culture like? What are the people like there? What do they care about? What matters to them? And again, this is relevant to a place. And it's not just like I'm going to do an entire country. I mean, let's dig down into a region, into an area, into a market, into an industry, so that you can really apply this. What product are you going to lead with? Chances are you can't lead with everything if you already have an established product line, maybe more than one product. And then what's the process for getting there? What do you have to do to make all of this work? What does the plan look like? All of these matter. Weaknesses in any one of these areas, or unfamiliarity, or maybe lack of looking at it and understanding it, will definitely surface later. The third segment is departments. So everyone in your organization, maybe it's a small organization, maybe it's a mid-size, maybe it's even a larger organization, everyone has a role, and they all have different things. Expansion is not like just a marketing and sales project where they just run with it. It doesn't work that way. You have to have buy-in and also support and things that they do for each of these different segments. So leadership plays a role. Sales has a very specific role. Finance has a really specific role. Can your pricing model actually work there? Does your business model work there? HR has a role. Can you hire in the market that you're at? I can't tell you how many companies I've worked with where they made all sorts of hiring assumptions, like they would attract individuals from all over to hire, so they centralized versus being in a market where there were already enough people that they could hire because of costs. It doesn't work that way. Many cultures are not very into moving around, and they just won't do that. Right? Legal. What are all the requirements around legal and compliance and things like that? The product, what has to be done to localize the product? Really important. Operations, how do you manage that? Customer support and customer success. All of these different things play an important role. You may, again, be wearing a lot of hats, so a small company might be doing this, but put your specific department hat on and make sure you go through this framework so that you can really answer as many of these questions as you can, so that you can bubble up and recognize things that are really important. Segment 4 is what are some core drivers of success that are unique to your expansion, right? Can your business model even run there? If you can't, chances are it's going to be pretty tough, right? What are the people that you've got internally? What are the skill gaps? Do you have the team that you need to be successful where you go? Even for a small group, you can hire in, you can consult, you can do that, but make sure you understand the gaps. Don't just give it to someone that's like, I really like France, so I'm just going to do HR here. Oh my goodness, it's really complicated, and having an expert alongside you really matters. Is your product ready? And is your process mature enough? Like, can you actually pull this off? And do you have a clear plan? Are you funded well enough, right? Does the pricing model work? Like, there's so many pieces that are really going to be unique to your model and your business succeeding. So what are the core drivers that you have to have? And if all of them aren't there, at least make sure you know that. Okay. So once you have, we've worked through the different departments, the different stages of your business, kind of the 5 Ps, like all the different components to have a pretty good understanding of what your plan could look like. We want to have you then kind of go through the framework. It's sort of the flywheel, right? So you're then going to be applying the framework so that you're not just launching and hoping, right? You enter a learning flywheel is what we call it. And that is, here's the idea here's our assumptions, the hypotheses. Here's the assumptions that we're making around this. Here are the tests we're going to run. Is it landing page tests? Is it a very tiny market? Is it a small sales rep experience? Is it one trade show? Like, what is the test you're going to be running? What are the things, the benchmarks that you need to meet? How are you measuring that? What kind of feedback are you getting in that? How do you localize that and start making things? How do you adapt all the things that you're learning really quickly and repeat it? So it's sort of this loop, this learning loop that you're going into. The more you use that learning loop and the faster that you can iterate and learn in that loop, the faster you're going to learn how to be successful in that market. So this loop of uncertainty turns into insights, and insights turn into traction. So that's the framework. Some practical tips that I want to just mention here. A few reminders. Again, every team or every function has a role to play in this. Definitely do your homework before jumping in. We'll talk a little bit about how you might be able to shortcut the time that it takes to get some of those learnings. There's a lot here that you can already do. Start small. Again, one audience, one market, targeted international expansion framework, and a lean approach. Stay humble and curious. Just make sure you don't assume that they're all like you and that they're going to respond like the market that you're very comfortable in or like any other market that you've been working in. Ask a lot of questions and learn those answers, right? Build trust early. Don't just assume you're going to build it when you're already there. Build it beforehand. You can already start becoming a thought leader. You can already start attending some things. You can already start building relationships and building trust well in advance of when you're going into a new market. And keep learning and adapting really quickly based on those learnings. Because global success is really loud at the beginning, but it compounds, and you will find that you just will have so much more success with the information that you have and the approach that you take, because it's so much more respectful. So think about that. Okay, so one of the things we had talked about was getting data, and how do you get the data? Good decisions kind of require good data, not just our assumptions and our opinions. And there's some really great ways that you can get data and gather insights, right? You can look at your own history and internal data like web traffic and different sales approaches and things that have resonated within the things you've already been doing. You could do some custom market research, right? You can do some surveys and some focus groups, and you can talk to people. You can interview current customers and prospects in those areas just to get some real insights and build also that trust and relationship that you're showing that you actually care to learn. You can trial, you can do pilots within a market, and so that you can see how it's working. You can get outside industry and competitor research, professional research that's already been done, so third-party research. You can also do really, really great AI-assisted research. You can make a whole lot of, kind of tests and assumption kind of AI research. There's a lot of data now that you can pull into something that's really, really helpful. You can do prototype testing. All of these are actually doable at a really small company level and at a larger company level. And we would love to help you understand how to do that and show you how to do that. So the key is really small steps, fast learning, not these big, massive, unproven bets, if you will. All right, so let's talk a little bit about AI, because obviously we all know that AI has its strengths and its weaknesses. Overall, AI does not replace a great strategy and really good insights, but it can accelerate your learning. So if you use it well, it helps synthesize research, it helps identify patterns, you can pressure test your assumptions, you can create really structured expansion playbooks like what we're working on here. And at Globig, we use AI to support, not replace, expert human judgment. So TIEF is designed to help companies reduce risk, as I had mentioned before, and build trust and expand successfully with intention. And we would really love for you to test this approach and help. And we would love for you to work with us on how do we get you some real coaching, some real data, and some AI-supported tools. And we invite you to take a look at the Globig Accelerator. If it's relevant for you, having a team that's already done this, has been there, has succeeded with others in the market, could really, really push your business into the right direction and also help you accelerate so much faster and more without the risk. You don't have to do this alone, and we want to be there with you. So don't just assume that you've got a team that you need. So we're here for you. We want to introduce you. We'd love to show you and demonstrate how our program works, if it's relevant to your business. So please get in touch with us, and let's see how we can help you escalate and accelerate your business. Thank you so much for joining, and then we'll have the Q&A now. And again, I appreciate your time.